What's up, guys? This is Boondocks here. Today I'm going to be showing off my Flaming Psycho build, which is probably one of the first builds I thought of when I first saw Krieg. And I actually don't play it all that often just because of the limitations that are on it, but it's a lot of fun. So, Buzz-Axe Rampage, always a great skill, mostly because of the increased melee damage and the fact that during Buzz-Axe Rampage, any kill you get restores all your health. Empty the Rage. Whenever your shields are down, you gain plus 50% melee damage, and then you also gain just a regular 20% regardless of the time. Because of the way Krieg is designed, his shields are almost always down, even if you don't have a Rough Rider. Feed the Meat is where this first comes into play, with the shield recharge delay being plus 2.5 seconds, and it also gives you 50% max health increase. Embrace the Pain. Whenever your shields are down, you have a ridiculous amount of fire rate, and a shield recharge gets increased by 10 seconds, which is pretty ridiculous as far as the amount of time it takes before your shield starts to recharge. Thrill the Kill. Every time you kill an enemy, any overkill damage gets returned to you as health. These points can actually get moved around to other areas if you so desire, such as blood-filled guns or flame flare, but I feel like I like it right here just in case you need that extra heals. Then we have Salt the Wounds. Whenever your shields are down and you get hit, you can gain up to 20 stacks of Salt the Wound. Salt the Wound increases your melee damage and your shotgun damage. Though we're not always going to be using the shotguns, it is helpful when you do switch that, which honestly is the most common weapon you're going to use against armored targets, such as all the Hyperion robots, and I'll get to that a little bit later. Silence the Voices in this build, unlike my Explosion build, is a little bit more of a detriment. In the Explosion build, you're focusing more on throwing your axes to cause massive amounts of explosive damage. In this, you do want to get in close to an enemy when in Buzz-Axe Rampage and hit them. When you're doing that melee damage, though, you have a chance of attacking yourself, which causes a decent amount of damage because you're so strong in melee, and we're not using the Rough Rider, and it'll also stagger you, so be careful with that. Release the Beast. Whenever you fall below 33% of your health, which is when the little exclamation point starts flashing in the bottom left-hand corner, you can activate Release the Beast. This is a free Buzz-Axe Rampage, so it won't start your cooldown. On top of that, you gain bonus melee damage, damage reduction, and it heals you to full. So it's a good get-out-of-jail-free card, as well as a pretty big boost in damage, and it's just fun. Over here, we almost have this entire tree in Hellborn filled out. Some of these points can be taken out if you so desire, such as up here, they're kind of redundant between Fuel the Fire and Burn Baby Burn, but this will guarantee that you're almost always on fire. So, Burn Baby Burn increases your burn damage, obviously beneficial for the fact that that's what we're going to be doing. And when you're on fire, you're going to be doing even more. Now, whenever you proc fire damage on an enemy, you have a chance to light yourself on fire, and this increases that self-ignite chance by 70%. Fuel the Fire. Whenever you get a kill, you're going to have an increased chance of lighting an enemy on fire by 400%. So say a weapon had a chance of lighting an enemy on fire by 10%, this will increase it to 40% because it gets multiplied by 4. Plus an additional 150%, so it goes up even more. It's a multiplier of 1.5. So down here we have Numb Nerves. Whenever you're on fire, you get damage reduction. Because of Burn Baby Burn and Fuel the Fire, you're pretty much constantly on fire. So 50% here and 50% from Release the Beast, you pretty much will take no damage. Now, Pain is Power. Your weapon and melee damage gets increased by 50% while you're on fire, which again is almost always. But you lose your critical hit damage. Who cares about critting when you're going crazy? Elemental Elation. You can gain up to 20 stacks every time you do elemental effect damage, which again is pretty much constant, and that increases your fire rate, your and magazine size. So next thing you know, your Hellfire gun will have a huge mag and empty it almost instantly. It's kind of nice. Delusional damage, whenever any elemental status effect procs, you have a chance to light yourself on fire. This is only really effective, or necessary rather, against armor targets because you're not going to be using as much fire against them as corrosive and slag. And this guarantees that you'll get that damage reduction. Fire Fiend, this is really important when you're in melee form because you have that chance to ignite enemies, and then that'll also turn back into lighting yourself on fire to get the damage reduction, as well as when you're on fire, you increase your accuracy and reload speed. Flame Flare, this just increases the duration that enemies are burning, and also the reignite chance of them burning. I only put 1 point in here because the percentages are already pretty high, and any increase in points doesn't boost them nearly as much. You already get enough just from the class mod. Elemental Empathy is awesome. This is where your main source of healing comes from. Whenever enemies take fire damage, you're going to get healed by a significant portion of that health is going to come back to you. Since you're going to be doing, just with the Flame of the Firehawk, about, I think it's almost 4.5 million damage per Nova, and getting 25% of that back, it's pretty much guaranteed. So then we have Raving Retribution. While you're on fire, taking damage has a chance to spawn homing balls of fire. That's very similar to an antagonist, the way that spawns the homing slag balls. The interesting thing about Raving Retribution, though, those balls spawn almost constant and they do massive damage, and it's just funny to watch them go flying off towards an enemy and make them explode. So that's pretty much the skills I take. Over here for the items, I take a slow hand just against armored targets. You can switch over and be able to kill them pretty quick thanks to the corrosive damage, and you'll still stay on fire due to the elemental or delusional damage, and that'll keep you on fire so that way you keep the damage reduction for yourself. Also, because the slow hand is a moxie weapon, all the damage you do will help heal you, because you're not going to be able to light armored targets on fire, but your Flame of the Firehawk damage plus the slow hand damage will keep you alive. Don't forget, you lose the Rough Rider damage reduction. Consummate Hellfire has such a high chance to ignite to begin with, and it has a 5.5 multiplier after getting your first kill, or just a 1.5 multiplier base of the ignite chance. So it's pretty drastic. Then I take 2 Norfleets again. Feel free to swap one of them out for any other weapon, such as an Omen or Grog Nozzle, Carnage. It's your call. I take 2 Norfleets just in case you get downed. The thing is, because of Elemental Elation, increasing your stacks, you can honestly have 12 shots in each Norfleet. That means you can fire off 24 shots before having to reload. Just remember, it takes away 3 shots each time you pull the trigger. So really you're looking at more like 8 shots total that you get to fire before having to reload, but within that time you can almost always get yourself back up. Now the main damage dealer in this build is Flame of the Firehawk. Once you drop your shields down, you're going to be doing massive amounts of Nova damage, which will then keep you alive and generally just rape every enemy that's nearby you. Magic Missile is good for slagging enemies and ensuring you get that quick kill, and is absolutely essential for killing big armored targets, because without that, you're not boosting your corrosive damage any other way. Krieg doesn't have any skills that really boost corrosive damage, only the fact that corrosive damage can now light him on fire to have damage reduction. So you actually need to make sure that enemies are slagged before using your slow hand in order to kill them with any type of reliability. Then there's Legendary Class Mod. This feeds directly into pretty much everything, your burn damage, your survivability, and it's a really good mod overall. So that's what I choose, and I recommend it highly. As far as Relic Scale, you have 2 major choices. Blood of the Seraphs gives you a higher window of survivability when you're looking to try to release the beast, and it also gives you more health before you get downed, which is obviously necessary since we're not using the Rough Rider. Beyond that, you can, of course, take Bone of the Ancients. The fire damage and is the important part, since 47% cooldown rate. It won't really help you out much due to the crazy length. 120 seconds on the cooldown of Buzzsack's Rampage anyway. So, let's go give this guy a try. Once again, we're at the Bandit Stronghold, mostly because the enemies are real close to each other here, and you can get a good demonstration of what to do and how to do it. Okay, so basically all you want to do is try to slag these guys, keep your fire spreaded, and just wait for your shield to get dropped. It's fine to get right up in their face, because as soon as that shield drops, you're going to be right back on it. Okay, right there's armor target, so perfect time to bust out the slow hand and get that bonus damage from using that. And I got down by him. Awesome. Not a problem though, because your Flame of the Firehawk actually keeps proccing. And of course I got my Norfleet. So the best idea here is to definitely wait for your Flame of the Firehawk to recharge before moving on to the next area. Just so that way, when your shield drops again, you'll be able to do all that massive amounts of damage. One tricky thing though about this build, you have to make sure you never ever walk by explosive barrels. The explosive barrels will guarantee that you are going to get killed. Flame of the Firehawk will proc and make the barrel go. And since you're not using the Rough Rider with its ridiculous damage reduction, one explosive barrel is enough to take you out.
I want everything you
That's why typically I try to use this more as a gun build first, and then a melee build second. If you are running into problems where enemies keep charging in on you, feel free to switch over to your slow hand anyway, even without armor targets being around, because you'll guarantee that you gain that bonus healing. And of course, because I'm on fire, my shield will not recharge. I mean, it also helps that enemies are constantly trying to shoot me in the face, but... So, just try to spread your fire around as much as possible. Keep your enemies slagged as much as possible. And don't walk next to exploding barrels when you have Flame of the Firehawk up, because you will die. Of course, when that does happen, you'll have a Norfleet to get back up. If you don't have a Norfleet, feel free to message me. I will try to get you one. Even if you're an Xbox player, there's tricks that you can do in order to get those skills over to you. So, I'll be able to get you hooked up one way or another if this is the route you want to take. Or pretty much any build, because Norfleet's pretty much essential in this game in order to properly survive. I'm depressed so far I haven't been able to release the beast.
I looked into the heart of darkness.
They seem to be able to down me without having that window, which isn't a big deal. This just goes to show how going this far into the Mania tree helps you keep your shield down the whole time. But I would like to show how when you go into release the beast, you can run around and still just kill enemies, and this doesn't have to be just a straight gun build. It's definitely a gun build first and melee build second, but you could do either or. If you wanted to let your enemies try to hit you a little bit, fall into it. Here, I'll try. Just gonna... They're taking a lot of damage. Just look at those fireballs go flying out and heal me up instantly. Thank you, fireballs. And he insta-killed me. And then I'm back up. Apparently that didn't even reset my Flame of the Firehawk. That's interesting. Usually when you get down and then back up, even off of Flame of the Firehawk, it's supposed to go on cooldown again. It's still proccing. So that's... Okay, here we go. Release the beast. With Flame of the Firehawk active, you can just run around slaughtering people. Man, of course, all the enemies are pretty much dead. The problem here is, because it's not in the Bloodlust tree, you don't get that extended time for dealing damage to your enemies. And in order to do it, it would take an additional 10 points in order to get far enough into that tree. What the hell is burning on the other side of this wall? You guys see that? That was fucking weird. Okay. Well, Anyway, that's my Krieg build. My Krieg Flaming Psycho build. It's fun. The issue, like I was saying before, is against armored targets, in which case you definitely want to slag them and then move in for the kill with the slow hand. This is a little bit of a higher risk reward than builds that use the Rough Rider, because you rely on the Firehawk hitting enemies to heal you up. If the Firehawk's not hitting enemies, or they're not shooting you with weak attacks that can send out those fireballs, then you're not going to get your health back unless you can move in for the kill. And you're not able to throw your Buzz Axe like in the other build in order to do massive explosive damage. But he's fun to play like this, and you can get into a big open area and just slaughter everybody. So, good luck, guys. Have fun. Peace.